guys, welcome back to my channel. It is officially 2025 and I am doing a 2024 book review because I had quite a few books that I read physically, like the physical books, like hardcover paperbacks and stuff, because I read a lot of books on Amazon. I read a lot of books on Kindle. I read a lot of library books. I read so many books. So I'm going to start off and say Happy New Year. And if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe, please. And let's get started, okay? So I'm going to go from recent to the beginning of the year. And you'll see, like, I've always have loved to read, like, romance, and then I've always loved to read historical romances. I've always loved, like, I've always loved smut, since I was a little kid, since I think I was, like, 14 or something. My family is a reading family, so the first author I ever read was Nora Roberts, and then I went to Joanna Lindsey, then I went to Julie Garwood. Those are some of, like, my early authors that I would read. And then I expanded, obviously. So now you'll see what I'm into. The first book that I didn't put on my, because I follow this app. Let me see what it's called. It's called Bookshelf, and it's so awesome because it literally will tell you when you read it, how long you read it. You can mark and track how far along you are in the book. You can write little note cards in it so you can remember what the book is about, if you have short memories or can't remember, because honestly, when you read so much, you never remember what you read or what it was about, like all the little things in there that you were like, oh my god, this makes that book so good. So I love this app, and somehow I read this one and I didn't mark it, so it's sad. So I'm going to start off with this one because I did love this. So it's by Emily Henry, and it's called Book Lovers. And I would say this would be a 10 out of 10 because it was like, it didn't have really any smut in it, but it implied it. And these two were rivals in the author world, and they wrote two completely different genres. One is, like, she loved like romance and, like, saving the woman or the women being a hero, like all that kind of stuff. And he was a very, like, I want to say very thought out writer, really loved to write true stories, informational pieces, stuff like that. Like, he really loved to think it out. And then you got to see them come together because they both had, like, writer's block. He had been working on his book for 5 years, and I believe it was about a cult, and it involved his, like, mother and his family or something like that, and, like, he was trying to figure out why and what was going on and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, and then you get to see why she has writer's block, like what is going on with her. She's, like, broke and broken up with someone and is taking, like, a little retreat in, what was it? Yeah. So it's, like, a small town where it's centered in, like, North Carolina. And yeah, so cute, so funny, short chapters, a lot of detail, but not too many details, like where you're like, oh my god, why the fuck is this taking so long to read? No, it's a good read, and it was so fast. I think I read this in like 2 days. So yeah, I loved it. Okay, the next book, is called King of Wrath by Anna Huang. I believe that's how you pronounce it. If not, please correct me. It was so good, because I've originally tried to read this on Kindle Unlimited, I think like 2 years ago. And sometimes, like, when I start a book on Kindle Unlimited, I don't get intrigued right away. I'm a mood reader. I so highly have to be in the mood to read it. And oh my god, so good. So the main character, Vivian, is like, her family is well off, and her father and mother are like wanting her to marry. So they find her this husband. The dad blackmails him to. Oh, it was so good. Anyway, I'm not gonna spoil it. Enemies to lovers, arranged marriage, very billionaire. Oh my god, smut 10 out of 10. Everything you would want in a book if you like smut and arranged marriage tropes, because it is the most perfect book. And I ended up reading the rest of the books on Kindle Unlimited because I love them. So yes, 10 out of 10. Okay, the next book. This series is one of my favorite kind of series ever. It is not a smutty book. It is pure the night, a comedy mystery. She is an amazing writer, and this is a very long and big series. My family has read these books since forever, and they actually made a movie out of the first book she ever wrote, called One for the Money. And if you already read that book, then you know who I'm talking about. The next book I read in December was Janet Ivanovich, a Stephanie Plum novel, which is the series, and it's called Now or Never. And I love her books in hardcover because they're perfect. This, oh my god, it has everything that you would want, and it's like she's a bounty hunter, and she's not the most graceful or elegant bounty hunter or the most qualified bounty hunter, but she gets the job done, and in such a funny way. And her sidekick Lula is so perfect, and her boyfriend Joe, and her other man of her life, Ranger, have been competing to be with her, and it is so cute. And so if you have not read this book or checked out this series, please do, because it is amazing. Alright, and then I believe another book. So I read a lot of books in December because I was behind on my reading goal this year. So I had to read fast and a lot and all the time. The next one I read is a Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. At first, because I've read, and I'll tell you later, but I read a book, I think in like October or November, another one of hers, and I wasn't quite impressed because it felt so long and drawn out, and like a slow burn, and I don't always love a slow burn, particularly unless you write it well. But this one was so fucking good because it was a I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like a woman. The girl, what's her name in this one? Remember her name? I just can't find it in the book. Lottie, which I love the name Lottie. Come on, like that's a cute name. She is like broke, and so she meets this guy on the street who needs to clean up his reputation because he lied to try to get this deal. And so he's like meets her and like tells her, you know, I'll pay you to be my fake fiance and be pregnant for until I need you to not be. And it was so good. It was so good. Because of course they fall in love, but it's like it was so beautifully told, and it as comedy, and she does have some really good writing. Sometimes just a little too many details. So I would say this is like a 7 out of 10 for me. But still, I really loved it. I read it really quickly. So yes, that was another one I read. So the next one I read is the same in the series. It's actually the second book in the series, so I read it kind of backwards. Of course. It's called So Not Meant to Be. And this is, they work together, they hate each other. Well, he doesn't hate her, she hates him because he's annoying to her. And not very nice because he has some demons and emotional scarring in his life. And it's so beautifully written that it made me want to read the other one, which I read it backwards, which if you know me personally, you know that I love to go in order. I do not like to go willy all over the place, because honestly, if I read a book backwards or start at the end of a series and then go to the first of the series, I get lost because I'm like, I'm missing something here. I can't piece together things and stuff. So I wasn't the greatest. But this was so good. Yeah, it was perfect. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for sure. For sure, yes. She is so funny. I loved this one because it was like, will they, won't they? Very much a slow burn. A lot of her books are slow burns. And you're just like, why? Always be a guy. Like, too long of a slow burn. Like, too long. Before they even kiss. And I'm like, what? The book is almost over. Why did it take you so long to kiss? So, but I loved it. Okay. So, now, hold on. The screen left me. Alright. The last book I read in December, which I started the end of November, was Colleen Hoover's Regretting You. I love her as an author because her books are so emotionally pulling to you that you always feel something. She's super good at that. And she's not I wouldn't say she's a smut writer because like her books don't have any smut. Okay, they're just not smutty. Actually, my sister, I was on a phone call with her, and she thought Colleen Hoover was a smutty writer, and I was like, not close. But this one was so good because, like, the book is, like, the wife loses her husband and her sister the day after her birthday. And her daughter, you know, that is very sad, and the grief. But the storyline about what actually happened, like, there's intrigue. Like, you're like, what was going on? And it goes through, like, I think, like a year of, like, what happened, you know, like, them after the deaths and stuff. And you find out, like, what happened, and there's betrayal, there's mystery, well, not mystery, but, betrayal, there's, this one was a very sad book. Well, not a sad book, but it was emotional, and if you like emotional reads, and you are a mood reader, definitely check this one out, because 10 out of 10, yeah. Okay. Yes, I love that one. Alright, so now we're into November books, and I only had really one, because I read a lot on Kindle Unlimited, because that's what I do. I read a lot on Kindle. I read, like, I think this year I read 400 books on there, but I could be wrong. A lot of times I reread books, because I love to reread books if I love them. So the November book I read, she is now officially one of my she's one of my top 10 authors. I will always want to read, like, what she writes. No matter what it is, I want to read it, because it's so good. It is Forever Never by Lucy Score. She has everything. She has mystery. She's got intrigue. She's got comedy. She's got smut. She's got emotional drama and everything in one book. She's got heroes. She's got, like, small town cop saves women, and they fall in love. This is one of the amazing, because they were high school sweethearts, and, well, not high school sweethearts, but they really wanted to be together, and he thought he wasn't good enough for her, and then she left. And she gets into trouble, like, where she was living, trying to save, like, this wife from domestic violence, and the guy was, like, this very powerful man, whatever, and she comes running home, because her mom's the police chief, so, you know, who's gonna protect you? Your own mama, your own family, your own town, you know, that's where you want to go when you're in trouble. You want to go back home. It's always been like that. So I love this book. I think I read this in 2 days, and it's a pretty big book. It's about, like, almost 600 pages, so it's a long read. So, but I read it so fast, and I loved it. And this is actually the first year I've ever read her books, and let me say, I read a lot of her books this year, and I love them. So, yeah. So that was November. So, and then I only read one book in October. Yeah, see, summertime I don't read a lot. I'm gonna say that. And fall. Regular books. Because then the sunshine's not out as much, and I read a lot on Kindle. But this one, okay, so this one was not a normal one of my reads, but you'll see that I do it. I'm a mood reader, so when I'm tired of, like, reading a lot of smut and a lot of, like, romance books, I'll read, like, something that is so powerful. So this one is from the Book of the Month Club, because I joined that one this year. I'm not on it now because I just can't afford it. But this is such a such a good book. It is called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I think I read this in like 3 days. And you'll hear me say that a lot because I do read really fast. If I love a book and I really am pulled into it, it doesn't take me long to finish it. Because if I'm reading a book on Kindle Unlimited, it takes me about a day or two. It does not take me long because I love to read. But this one is such, like, it does not have any, it does have romance, but it does not have any smut. So this one is about this, like, actress who is, like, dying. And she, like, has this author come out. I'm not going to spoil this, but she is, like, the life of Evelyn Hugo and, like, her marriages and her actress career, and everything she had to do to rise to the top. But it was superb because there is intrigue, there's mystery, and you don't know why she chose this random little writer for a magazine who is pretty much like no one really knows her. Not famous, not like a known writer. But she chose her for a reason, and you'll find out. And it was really good, and I loved it. So please, if you haven't already, read it. Okay, so in September, which was my birth month, by the way, I read one book again. I know, really bad. It's from Megan Quinn. So this was the first book I ever read of hers, and I'm gonna say I didn't really like this one. It was okay. I would say like a 5 out of 10 for me, personally. I think it was too much of like a slow burn, a very much like too detailed scenes where it's like that could have been written down, that could have been still okay, still good. It was alright. I wasn't that impressed. So that was that. Okay. So August, I read I read 3 on here, and then I have one that says I read it, but I don't remember it, so I'm not gonna tell you about it because I have to read it again. So, that means it was not good, apparently. But one of the first books I read in August was The Body in the Backyard by Lucy Score. This was so good. It's a part of a series. It's a Riley Thorne novel, and she is a psychic who is in a relationship with this PI, and they get together in the first book, and it is so cute, and it's got smut, it's got comedy, it's got crime. It's 10 out of 10. I love these books, and I want everyone to read them because I love them, and I think she is very slept on because I work in a hospital. Well, I worked in a hospital where all the nurses and like CNAs pretty much read a lot, and no one ever reads her books, and I'm like, why not? They're perfect. So yeah, currently I have my mom reading her books because I love her. So that was one of them. And then I read another one of hers called The Corpse in the Closet. Okay, It is so good. So good. So good. Please read. Please, please, please read it. Because honestly, what would you do if you didn't read it? Probably do something else, but would it be as fun? I don't think so. So, the other one I read, which I marked it as 3.5 stars. So, yeah. It's called Beach Read by Emily Henry. So, as you can see, it's a little... I don't like paperback books as much. And especially ones that are like, they feel like they're gonna fall apart real quick. And that is what this felt like. This is the book that felt like. But it was an easy read. I wasn't that impressed. This is another one where they're both authors and they love each other. Well, they don't love each other, they hate each other. But, yeah. They make a bet where one has to write a romance one and one has to write like he writes. And so it was okay. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that one. Okay. And then in July, I read quite a few more books. And, yeah. So I'm going to say this one. I love her. And this is not a part of a series. This is just like a solo book, which I love solo books sometimes because I'm like, I don't have to force myself to read faster to get to the rest of the series. It's called The Worst Best Man by Lucy Score. Is 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It has everything that you want in a enemies to lovers trope. So please check it out. Alright. I took my glasses off. Alright. The next book I've read is by Rebecca Yarros, The Last Letter. This book broke me. I worked night shift, okay, when I read this book. And I took it to work, and I read it. And end of shift. Crying, like sobbing, literal sobs. First 5 minutes of the book, you're sobbing. The whole book, you're pretty much sobbing. It is so sad, so emotional. She's a fantastic, talented writer. If you want to be broken, read this one. It broke me. I'm not gonna even spoil it for you because it's hard for me to talk about this book. Yeah. So sad. So yeah. Okay. Now, this was a series that I read in June and July. And the rest of July, and well, the first part of July and all of June. And so I'll get them all together if I can hold all of them. But a lot of people have read these books before, but I am new to the party. And I just have to say, I love them. And I can't wait to dive into her other series and the 6th book of this series. So, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Mays, however you say her last name, because I don't even know how to say that. I'm not good with words or pronouncing them. I can read them. I can spell them most of the time. Half the time I can't pronounce. Even words that are super, super easy to pronounce, I mess up. So bear with me. But this was 10 out of 10. The whole series. I have no words. I loved them. The first book, like, when everyone was saying, like, you have to really just power through it and you'll, like, love the rest of the series, whatever. I loved the first book because the first book really sets the scene. Like, she meets Rise. She meets Tamlin. I can't even see. I was gonna call him Tylan, but don't even know why. I'm hilarious that way. It is so good. It's so good. This book, A Court of Mist and Fury. So good. So good. The third one, oh my god. Like, when I tell you I could not put it down, and I literally, like, just wanted to read every second of the day. Like, I didn't want no one to talk to me. I didn't want to go do anything. And my sister was in town with my nieces, and so I couldn't read as much as I wanted to. But I love them. My sister, my nieces, of course, obviously. I love them. But this one, oh my god, so good, so good, so good. Okay, this one, I could have lived without. It was such a quick read because it's like 200 pages. Even less than that, I think. But it didn't play a role into anything. It just was like kind of putting the final touches on just her and Rice. And so they moved on from their, like, love story. They're still together. They're still in all the books. But they're not the main characters anymore. And this one, okay, so everyone, like, was saying, like, they didn't like how Nessa was acting in this book, but I loved it. I understood her. Like, I understood her anger and her pain and her, like, everything. Like, you just understand her in a way when you have seen some shit and experienced some shit. And so you kind of understand. The people who are like, oh my god, she's just such a meanie. Like, do you realize half the people are mean in this world? Everyone's mean anymore, okay? Nobody's nice and kind and goes above and beyond for anybody. Very rarely. And those people are, like, the people who do that all the time and are they're just angels, and we love them. But I love this book. And Cassian is such a good... Yes. So, yeah, go read. Go read these if you haven't. Because they're amazing. Sorry, I had to put them. Okay, so May. We're in May now. This book I read. The next book I read. I didn't even finish this one. I could not. I do not force myself to finish a book. Because I used to have to do that. And I don't like that because it makes me not want to read anymore. And this book... And she's a good author. I like quite a few of her books I've read. This one was called A Summer Affair by Aline Hildebrand. Hated it. Overrated. Sloppy writing. Not oriented. No chemistry. No. So, please, no. I've been trying to get that away. Okay, so a coworker at work. I had finished the book that I had brought to read at work because when you work night shift as a CNA, you have a lot of time to read because if your patients are all asleep, you have already done all your tasks and all your charting. What you gonna do? You gonna read. You can't sleep. So you either read or you watch TV on your little phone with your headphones in. And that is the unknown, unspoken truth of every floor you will ever work on the hospital. It's unspoken, but I spoke it. I broke the fourth wall, as you would say. So she gave me this series. So, The Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros and The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And I loved them so much that I read them so fast. I couldn't put them down. I didn't want to. I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to hang out with anyone. I just wanted to hang out with my book. Fantasy, you never experienced before. I'm not the biggest fan of dragons, even though I've watched Game of Thrones and I loved Game of Thrones. I've never been a fan of dragons. In the fantasy world, I've always been a vampire reader or werewolf watcher, because I do watch a lot of fantasy shows sometimes. Because who doesn't? So yeah, I love these, and I already have the third pre-ordered, and anxiously waiting for them. So, all right. The next one I read, and is the beginning of the series, is The Dead Guy Next Door by Riley Thorne. And it was so amazing because you get to see them meet cute, you get to see the love story develop and from the beginning, and you just are like, oh my god. I love it. So please go check out the series because 10 out of 10 in every way that counts. Alright, so then I read this one in May. This one I would say this is the book when I first started at working at the hospital. And it's called 9 Perfect Strangers by Lane Moriarty. Could be wrong on the last name. Correct me if I am. It is a TV series on Hulu. So, I was confused for most of the book. But it was such a good read, and I'm glad I read the book before. I didn't even watch the show, but I'm glad I read the book, because books are usually always better than the TV shows or movies, because if you've read the book before you've seen the TV show. If you watch the show before the book, then you're like, well, that wasn't in the show. Oh, that wasn't in there. So I always recommend to read the book before you watch the show or the movie, because then you understand everything in the movie and the book. Because, yeah. This was a good thriller. Very, very good. Very good. And a lot of these people are like, they want to change themselves. So they book this, like, retreat. And this owner lady is a cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And gives these people drugs. Every single day. And locks them in this retreat. And yeah. So please read this book, because it's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Okay. And then April, hold on. April. I read on Kindle Unlimited. I'm gonna be real honest, I read a lot of books on Kindle Unlimited this year. And then March, I read a lot of Kindle Unlimited and library books, but the few that I did read here is Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. Okay. This one is the third book in the series, and I have to say it wasn't my favorite, because I felt like it was underwritten. Because the first two books, they developed these two characters so well, and then this book was a letdown. It really was. I didn't feel pulled to read it like the other two. I didn't read this one as fast. I think it took me like a week and a half to read, which very sad for me. So yeah. That's all I gotta say on that one. I have to read it again. A later time. Okay, so I read a lot of library books in March. And then February, I read the rest of the series. And my mom's reading this one right now, so that's why there's a bookmark in it. Things We Never Got Over and Things We Hide from the Light. I love these two so much. They're brothers, and they're small town lives. One is a cop, one is a successful business owner who meets this woman who's like, I wouldn't say like on the run, because she wasn't on the run from something, but she got like, I think, left at the altar, but I could be wrong, where she left him at the altar, and she like escapes, like drives and is driving, and you know how fate works. So perfect, so good. Grumpy guy, and it's perfect. It is everything. I love her as a writer. I really do. Okay, then I read a lot in February that I don't have. Because I read a lot of library books, and I read a lot of things that I put as February, but a lot of them were in January. And a lot of them were library books, because I read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and the other one, what was it called? It Starts With Us. I didn't like the second book as much, and I didn't really like it that much. I loved It Ends With Us, though. The next one I read was Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I want to say this was like a 7 out of 10, because like it could have been written with more details, just a little bit, but it was so good in a way that like these two damaged people heal each other in a way that no one else could have. And I love that. If you have never read this book, please go check it out, because you will love it. And then, sorry if I look like I'm squinting, I can't see, and yeah. And I don't know why, but when I'm like talking or filming myself, which I'm not very good at because I don't do it very often, I get nervous. And I want to make sure that I look okay. Very vain, not very vain, because I'm not a very vain person, if you know me. This one was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I love her. She doesn't write that many books, but that I know of, because I don't pay attention to every author, because why would I do that? I don't have all the time in the world to do that. This one was so good. It was like where it like jumps back and forth. I think they were high school sweethearts. Yeah. Very good friends. And she comes back home, and so it jumps back and forth from when she was growing up with him to present. And it's not a smutty book, like, at all. Like, it has no smut. So if you expect smut, don't get your hopes up. So this one was definitely a really good one. I think it took me 3 days to read. Doesn't take me long if I like it. So please go check this out. And okay, this is the last book I read of the year, like, that I have. And she is the author that got me back into reading after high school, because I stopped in high school. I didn't read as much, and I didn't read a lot. My last year, junior high, or middle school, I guess. I don't know why I said junior high. We don't call that junior high here. So it is called Shades Fall by Jamie Begley. This is a reread because I've read all her series, like, over and over and over. I read every single one of her books. I know when they're coming out. I know everything in this. If you want smut, she's got it. If you want, like, protective alpha males who are so strong and they're badass, and women who are feisty and sassy and loving and sweet and strong and independent, read her, because she's amazing. And this is one of my favorite books of hers. I love this. There's another book that is called Shade. It's a motorcycle romance novel book club. It's a motorcycle club. It's got crime. It's got comedy, dry comedy. So if you don't get dark humor, you won't get it. It's got lots of smut. It's got a lot of intrigue. All the characters intertwined throughout the whole book, throughout the whole series. And then she has different series within the series, and it will throw you sometimes, but it's amazing. And she is a writer that I found on Apple, like Apple Books, and then I found her. Honestly, I don't remember how I found her, but I just remember that I found her because I typed in MC Romances, and she came up. And I bought her books on Apple. I have her books on Kindle. I have her books on... I'm buying her books physically. Like, I am obsessed with her. So, that was my year of reading. And thank you. I will be telling you guys, I'm going to start doing monthly recaps of the books I'm reading, my physical books that I'm reading. I say a lot. I gotta work on that. I think it's because I don't always know what I want to say. So that is one of my plans this year, is to be more consistent with filming and reading more hard physical books that you, because I love the smell of pages. I love the smell of the paper. I love the smell of the book. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do this year. I'm already reading one. It's called God of Pain by Rena Kent. I really love her. I read a lot of her books on Kindle Unlimited. So, yeah. Anyway, Happy New Year, you guys. Drop some comments in below to tell me what you like and what you don't like, and what you have read, or any suggestions of books. Thank you. Have a good day.